Hi, folks. Welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Weather is in that eerie mood where we're probably going to get some severe weather. I've been keeping close track of this all day because that's part of my volunteer job is to open storm shelters and be available if there's any kind of disaster response or anything like that. So we're keeping a close eye on it. And while so far all of it that's come through Missouri has gone north of us, just barely north of us, but definitely north of us. But it's looking like here this afternoon, early evening, I think we're going to start getting some weather, and it could be quite severe the way it's looking. And it's just that calm, kind of cloudy, eerie, balmy, sticky weather that just, kind of feels like we're going to get some. So if you're in that region, definitely be paying attention. And then also the areas in Oklahoma and stuff that's gotten hit in the last several days, be keeping those folks in your prayers over there. This is a huge alert. And I'm not speaking, I'm not trying to blow things out of proportion, okay? Yesterday, I made a video talking about how BlackRock is advising, and I said it again this morning, so this is now the third time I'm mentioning it, but it's important, that BlackRock has been advising their investors to pull their money out of U.S. dollars, to dump their U.S. dollars, to put them into more stable, secure investments. That is hugely significant, folks. That's big. Well, today, something else has come out that's quite possibly just as big. I don't know, maybe bigger. It's huge. The International Monetary Fund is a warning about a U.S. dollar collapse. And they're talking about BRICS being the one that you should put your money into because it's going to be more secure. Now, before we jump into this too much further, I want to point out that I strongly, personally believe that this is all planned out. It's not just a coincidence that it's happening. And I believe that the United States, the Treasury Department, and the Federal Reserve are all in on this. They're all in on this. They may make it seem like that there's this two opposing forces battling each other, but I believe that they're all in on this. And that this is all a big setup to cause the U.S. dollar to collapse, bring about some one world government, one world dollar, digital currency, all of that stuff that we've been talking about for a long time. But the International Monetary Fund is warning people that the U.S. dollar could collapse based on the projections of how much debt we're going into, how we're just wasting things, and it's ridiculous what we're doing. I mean, without going into great detail, you don't have to be a financial guru analyst to figure this out. 33, 34, 35 trillion. We just keep going on and on. They're talking 50 trillion within a decade. We're going into debt at an average of $1 trillion a quarter now. That's absolutely insane. And so we're watching BRICS grow in power. Just in the last couple of weeks, both Putin and Xi Jinping has been meeting with quite a few different leaders of other countries. And these leaders of other countries, well, they want to become part of BRICS. Like I said, there's 30 plus countries right now just this year that are wanting to join BRICS, and I'm sure that number will continue to grow. BlackRock and the International Monetary Fund now are both having very open, serious conversations about the collapse of the United States dollar. Folks, that is serious. I mean, that's something that even just a couple of years ago, most people would not even be able to wrap their head around. They wouldn't believe it. Over the past 12, 18 months, we've watched several countries walk away from the U.S. dollar. We've watched trade deals not use the U.S. dollar. We've even watched oil being sold out of Saudi Arabia, which is what backs up our dollar in large part, the petrodollar, work out trade deals outside of the U.S. dollar. I know that there's always those folks that are going to say, oh, the dollar will always be around. It's always going to be the best. It's always going to be the biggest. And it's quite possible that they're correct. But I think there's a less and less chance of that being possible. And even myself included, I've talked about this happening off into the future, year, 2 years, 5 years, however long into the future. It's quite possible that we are incorrect on that, and this could be happening much sooner than we thought. Maybe they're ready for the digital currency. I think I've said that for a while, that I think has been the thing. They're waiting for the right opportune time. They're waiting for the CBDC to all the bugs to be worked out so that they can make that switch. It was just the other day that FDIC stated that they were preparing for a major bank collapse, for a major bank, big one, a big bank like Wells Fargo, Bank of America, a large bank to fail, that they were preparing for that. There's already been several banks that have failed over the last year, and some of them were quite large, but we're talking one of the big boys, and the FDIC says that they're getting ready for that. They also said a year ago or so that a major banking collapse could happen overnight. Over a weekend, people wake up Monday morning and banks are shut down. There's been bank runs, and it's all done. This is something that's being talked about more openly than ever before. Like I said, it was just a few years ago, it would have been laughable for most people to have a conversation about the US dollar collapsing. It was always viewed as so secure, even though a lot of us knew that that wasn't true. Now these conversations are being had out in the open, just like it's just a regular how's the weather conversation. And that to me means it's dangerously getting close to a dollar collapsing, at least in some way. I mean, the US dollar has been collapsing, and it's called inflation. Every time inflation goes up and the US dollar purchases less, that is a form of collapsing of the dollar. And it's becoming worse and worse. This is going to be huge, huge, huge. Equally as big as the entire grid going down, equally as big as a nuclear bomb, equally as big as a real major pandemic. This will be huge. This will affect the entire world, and it will definitely affect us here in the United States. You need to be getting ready for this. I don't have a timeline. I don't know that anyone has a timeline, and you can make speculations that it's going to be months and years out there, or you can speculate that it's only weeks or a couple of months away. We don't know. And the way things are happening, it's almost like there's no pattern to it anymore. Other than the fact that, again, it's being talked about by two of the largest financial entities on this planet, BlackRock and the International Monetary Fund, warning about the United States dollar collapsing. That alone is enough, folks. That alone is enough. We've watched countries like Zimbabwe, which I know they're small, who cares, switch over to a completely gold-backed currency. BRICS has very openly talked about a gold-backed digital currency, and they've been consuming gold at record rates. China has been purchasing gold now for a solid 18 months. They're dumping US dollars, and they're taking that money and they're buying it into gold. This is not happening by chance, folks. This is happening for a purpose. And when that happens, the ones that's going to be hurt in the end are going to be you and I, the average folks. We're the ones that's going to suffer. And the only way to avoid that is to get to where you're not dependent upon that currency. Now, that's easier said than done. I'm not a fool. I understand that is an order that's almost impossible to fill. But we have to try. We have to become as self-sufficient as possible. We have to be as self-reliant and resilient. Come together in groups and communities and tribe and mutual assistance groups so that we can, at the very least, eke out a survival, together. We may not have any of the conveniences that we're used to, but certainly we can survive together. And we don't know exactly how far-reaching this will be. We don't know what levels of technology will be deployed against us. We don't know. But the fact is that it's being openly talked about, a US dollar collapse. And you need to be buckling up and getting ready for this. With all the other things going on in this world right now that are so dangerous and negative and a little scary, this is a big, serious one. And the thing is it's not on the front page of the news. It's not being openly talked about. It's not popular in the news, like what's going on in Israel and Gaza, or what's going on in Russia and Ukraine, or what's going on at the southern border. And certainly not as popular as the election cycle and then the Trump investigation and all that kind of stuff. But this issue of the US dollar collapsing may be More important than all of those, other than maybe the border issue. They may be equally as important, but the dollar collapsing could happen very quickly and have very immediate repercussions all over the world. And you need to be ready for that, because it looks like it's probably coming sooner than later. It's time to get your houses in order, folks, and to prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.